Today, we're going to talk about a skill that can literally fundamentally change your life. We're talking about the art of saying no.
So let's just dive right in with a question that I think is going to feel a little too familiar for a lot of us. Why do you say yes to things you don't actually want to do, and then, of course, end up regretting it?
You know exactly how this goes, right? Your calendar is packed, you are running on fumes, but when someone asks for a favor, the words, sure, I can help, just kind of pop out on autopilot. Or maybe you get an invitation to something you know you're not going to enjoy. Just the thought of it makes you anxious. But the thought of that awkward conversation to say no, that feels even worse. So, you don't refuse. And this is the result, isn't it? You're already at your limit, totally overwhelmed, and yet you agree to one more thing. Look, this isn't just about being nice. It's a pattern that completely drains your energy and slowly eats away at your feeling of being in control. So, what is actually going on here? Well, this whole habit has a name. And in our first section, we're going to dive deep into the people pleasing habit. You know, people pleasing isn't just about being helpful. As the Mindspring Mental Health Alliance defines it, it's a consistent pattern of putting other people's needs ahead of your own, often at the expense of your own well being. It's really about seeking that approval, even when it hurts you. So, does any of this sound familiar? Maybe you find it almost physically difficult to say that little two-letter word. You avoid conflict like the plague. You feel this huge wave of guilt anytime you do set a boundary. You find yourself apologizing for things that aren't even your fault. And at the end of the day, your own needs, they're nowhere to be found. And let's be really clear here. This habit has serious consequences. This constant stream of unwanted yeses is a direct flight to burnout. It slowly builds up resentment towards the very people you're trying to help. And ultimately, it just leaves you feeling like a passenger in your own life. But here is the really good news. This is a pattern you can absolutely break. So let's shift gears and reframe this whole idea, because saying no is not rude. It is a fundamental act of self-respect. I absolutely love this quote from researcher Brené Brown because it just nails the choice we're facing. Every time you say yes when you mean no, you're choosing the temporary comfort of avoiding an awkward moment over the courage of honoring your own limits. Saying no is an act of integrity. So the most important thing here is to make a mental shift. We need to stop filtering our decisions through that old question, will they be upset with me? And start asking a much more powerful one. Is this right for me? That one simple change moves the focus from what other people think to what you actually need. And this is a huge distinction to make. When you say no, you are not rejecting a person. You are simply refusing a request. That's it. Your no isn't some big statement on your relationship or how much you value them. It's just a simple, factual statement about what you're able to do in that moment. Okay, so we've covered the why. Now let's get really practical with the how. Think of this next section as your personal toolkit, full of clear, actionable strategies for setting boundaries with respect, and most importantly, with confidence. We're going to walk through 4 key strategies here. The power of just taking a pause, the art of keeping it simple, a really cool technique called the positive no, and finally, learning how to just sit with that initial discomfort of trying something new. So let's start with that first step. Social psychologist Kinga Mitch said it perfectly. Your first goal isn't even to say no. It's just to stop saying yes immediately. You have to create some space. A simple phrase like, let me check my schedule and get back to you, is a total game changer. It gives you the time to ask yourself that all-important question, is this right for me? Second, you have to keep it simple. You do not owe anyone a 5-paragraph essay defending your no. A clear, direct, and respectful refusal is more than enough. Phrases like, no, I can't commit to that right now, or just, that doesn't work for me, are complete answers. Trust me, over-explaining just weakens your boundary. Now for a more advanced technique from negotiator William Ury, it's called the positive no. And it follows a simple yes, no, yes structure. So you start with a yes that affirms your own priorities. For instance, I'm really committed to protecting my family time on weekends. Then you state your clear no. So I won't be able to take on that project. Then you end with another yes, a possible alternative, but I'd be happy to take a look first thing Monday morning. It's great because it preserves the relationship while keeping your boundary firm. All right, like any new skill, saying no with confidence takes practice. It's a muscle. So in this section, let's talk about how to actually build that no muscle, so it starts to feel like a natural strength, not a source of stress. Here's your training plan. First, start small. Say one honest no each day in a situation that doesn't feel like a big deal. Second, get in the habit of delaying every response. Make "let me check my schedule" your default answer. Third, practice using those short, clear phrases we talked about. And finally, at night, just do a quick check-in. Ask yourself, did I respect my time and energy today? And let's just be honest with ourselves here. The first few times you set a new boundary, it is probably going to feel uncomfortable, maybe a little awkward or even a little scary. That is a completely normal part of this process. But you have to remember, that discomfort is temporary. The regrets and resentment from saying yes, that lasts much, much longer. So what happens when someone pushes back and asks why? Well, you don't need to get dragged into a whole debate. You can just calmly repeat your boundary using simple, firm phrases. It just doesn't work for me. Or, I'm not available. The most important thing to remember is that you are not obligated to justify your decision to anyone.
Okay, let's bring this all together. Why does this tiny two-letter word hold so much power? Because mastering it is about so much more than just managing your schedule. It's about taking back control of your life.
This quote really highlights what's at stake here. Every time you say yes when you want to say no, you're handing over a little piece of your own autonomy. But every single time you say an honest, respectful no, you reclaim that power. You are declaring that your time, your energy, and your priorities matter. And that brings us to our final slide, which is really a call to action for you. You understand the why, and now you have the how. The only thing left is the what. So based on everything we've just talked about, what is one thing you will say no to today to begin taking back control of your life?